The vase shattered against the hardwood floor, its jagged pieces glinting like teeth in the candlelight. My wife's face twisted, her lips curling as she glared at the splintered remains of my gift. A hand-carved wooden box, months in the making, now reduced to kindling. "I don't want handmade junk," she spat, her voice sharp enough to slice through the quiet of our dining room. The words landed like a fist in my gut, stealing my breath. 5 years married, and I'd never seen her eyes so cold, so foreign. The air smelled of wax and regret, the dinner I'd cooked cooling untouched on the table. I stood frozen, my hands still outstretched from offering the box, now empty, as her heels clicked toward the kitchen. The trash can lid slammed shut, echoing like a gunshot. I wanted to scream, to demand why, but my throat tightened, trapping the words. Instead, I sank into the chair, staring at the mess of wood and glass. The box had taken weeks of late nights in the garage, sanding until my fingers ached, carving her initials into the lid with a precision that felt like devotion. She'd always loved my woodworking, hadn't she? Her laughter, her soft, "You're so talented" from years ago, flickered in my mind, but it felt distant, like a memory from someone else's life. Now, her rejection stung with a venom I couldn't place. Was it just the gift? Or was it me? The house was too quiet. The ticking of the clock above the mantel gnawed at my nerves, each second stretching the silence into something oppressive. I replayed her words, searching for clues. Handmade junk. The phrase was cruel, but it was the way she'd looked at me, disdainful, almost pitying, that churned my stomach. I tried to shake it off, to tell myself she was just stressed. Her job had been brutal lately, long hours at the law firm, late-night texts from colleagues she never named. I'd rationalized it all. Trust was the foundation of US, wasn't it? But doubt crept in, a cold whisper I couldn't ignore. I stood, my chair scraping the floor, and moved to the kitchen. The trash can sat by the counter, its lid still slightly ajar. I hesitated, my hand hovering over it. Opening it felt like admitting something was wrong, like crossing a line I couldn't uncross. But I did it anyway. The box lay atop a pile of coffee grounds and wilted lettuce. Its carved lid cracked but still legible. E&L forever. My chest tightened. I reached for it, then stopped. Something else caught my eye. A crumpled receipt, half buried under a banana peel. I pulled it out, smoothing it against the counter. A hotel. Downtown. 2 nights ago. Paid in cash. My heart thudded, a dull rhythm against my ribs. She'd told me she was working late that night, buried in case files. I'd brought her coffee at the office, but the lights were off, her desk empty. She'd texted later, saying she'd stepped out for a client meeting. I'd believed her. Why wouldn't I? But the receipt burned in my hand, its edges sharp against my skin. The date, the location, the cash payment. It didn't add up. My mind raced, conjuring excuses. Maybe it was for work. Maybe a friend needed a place to stay. But the whispers grew louder, sharper, slicing through my rationalizations. I shoved the receipt into my pocket and returned to the dining room, my steps heavy. The broken vase stared back at me, accusing. I needed answers, but confronting her felt like stepping into a minefield. What if I was wrong? What if I was right? The thought made my skin crawl. I grabbed my phone, scrolling through our texts. Her messages were curt lately, clipped responses to my paragraphs. Busy. Talk later. I hadn't noticed how distant they'd become until now. Each one a brick in a wall I hadn't seen her building. The front door creaked open, and my heart lurched. "Ellie." I called, my voice thinner than I meant it to be. She appeared in the doorway, her coat still on, her blonde hair catching the light like a halo. For a moment, she was the woman I'd married, bright, warm mine. But her eyes flicked to the floor, to the broken vase, and her lips pressed into a tight line. "I didn't mean to throw it," she said, her voice softer now, almost regretful. "I'm just tired, Luke. It's been a lot." I wanted to believe her. God, I did. But the receipt burned in my pocket, and her words felt like a performance. "Tired?" I echoed, stepping closer. "Tired enough to call my work junk? Tired enough to—" I stopped, the hotel's name lodged in my throat. I couldn't say it. Not yet. Her gaze darted away, and she hugged her arms to her chest. "I didn't mean it like that. You're overreacting." Her tone was defensive, a spark of irritation flaring in her eyes. It was a look I'd seen before, but never directed at me. It was the look she gave clients who pushed too hard, who crossed her lines. Am I? I asked, my voice low. The air between us crackled, thick with unspoken accusations. I wanted her to explain, to laugh it off, to make it make sense. But she just stood there, silent, her fingers twisting the hem of her coat. The next morning I called in sick. Ellie left for work without a word, her coffee mug untouched on the counter. I waited until her car disappeared down the street before I started searching. Guilt clawed at me as I opened her laptop, her password unchanged from our dating days. Sunflower 23. Her email was a maze of work threads, but one caught my eye, a confirmation for a dinner reservation, 2 nights ago, at a restaurant near the hotel. 4-2. No names, just a time and a table number. My hands shook as I clicked through her calendar. Client meeting. It said same time, same night. But the hotel receipt gnawed at me, a puzzle piece that didn't fit. I drove to the hotel, my pulse hammering. The lobby was all glass and marble, cold and sterile. The clerk, a young guy with a bored expression, barely looked up. Can you check a reservation? I asked, sliding the receipt across the counter. He frowned, tapping at his computer. Cash payment, no name on file, he said, shrugging. Could be anyone. Anyone with my wife's credit card? I snapped, then caught myself. I described Ellie, blonde, green eyes, sharp cheekbones. His face shifted, a flicker of recognition. Yeah, I think I saw her. With some guy. Tall, dark hair, suit. They were cozy. The word hit like a sledgehammer. I stumbled out, the city noise blurring into a dull roar. Cozy. I saw them in my mind, her laughing, his hand on hers, the way she used to look at me. The betrayal crystallized, sharp and undeniable. I drove home, the receipt crumpled in my fist. That night, Ellie came home late. The dining room was dark, the broken vase still on the floor. I sat at the table, the receipt in front of me. She froze when she saw it, her bag slipping from her shoulder. Luke, Who is he? My voice was steady, but inside, I was unraveling. Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw guilt in her eyes. Not regret, not love, guilt. It's not what you think, she whispered, but her voice broke, and the lie collapsed between us. Then what is it? I stood, my chair tipping back. A hotel? A dinner? A man you were cozy with? Tell me, Ellie. Tell me I'm wrong. She didn't. She sank onto the couch, her hands covering her face. It was a mistake, she said finally, her voice barely audible. A colleague. It just happened. The words were a blade, twisting deeper with every syllable. A mistake. As if that erased the nights I'd spent carving her gift, the years I'd spent believing in us. I wanted to hate her, to scream, but all I felt was emptiness. The box, the vase, the receipt, they were all pieces of a life that no longer existed. I walked to the door, my hand on the knob. Happy anniversary, I said, my voice hollow. I stepped into the night, the cold air biting my skin, and left her with the wreckage of our trust. Behind me, the house stood silent, a tomb for the love we'd buried.